our smallholder farmers, but most of the time we don't have a conducive policy environment. You have been the architects. Take us back memory lane. What's your legacy? What is the one policy, instrument, or innovative strategy that you, during your tenure, put in place that was a game changer in making sure that we face climate change and that you move the needle when it comes to food security in your country? Let me start with you, President Jakaya Kikwete. We've been there, we are here. Take us there. What did you do?
One. Only one.
Game changer.
Of course, during my presidency, I gave a lot of focus on agriculture. Really, because of the reality on the ground. First, of course, agriculture employs, we have almost 70 to 75% of our people live in rural areas and they depend on agriculture for their livelihood. But the agriculture they depend on is backward agriculture. Low productivity, low production. So really the question is, how do we transform our agriculture, make it more productive so that there is more production, people's incomes increase, we are assured the country of food security. This has been the main question. Of course, what we started working on has been coming up with the Agricultural Sector Development Program, ASDP. It was meant to address the main constraints to agricultural transformation and agricultural growth in the country. Because we have very short time, I cannot go into the details. This is one of the overarching instruments. And I'm glad now the government is working on ASDP 2. Focus is, what are the main constraints? One, irrigation, seeds, fertilizers, herbicides and pesticides, imparting skills to farmers, looking at the infrastructure to support the agricultural sector, look at financing aspect to support farmers, look at the crop marketing systems, which have also been another program. But of course, in the budget for ASDP, over 60% of it is money dedicated to irrigation. And then, of course, we, as we proceeded, we came to realize that there is little involvement of the private sector in the transformation of Tanzania's agriculture. As president, I've been chairing what we call the Tanzania Business Council. In one of the meetings of the Tanzania Business Council, we discussed with the private sector, what do we do to our agriculture? And all of us agreed. And that's how we came up with the phrase, Kilimo Kwanza.
Yeah.
That agriculture first. All of us. But now we needed to involve the private sector more into the production, but also into the processing, but also into buying from the farmers, and so on and so forth. So we are now completing the value chain. But then we came with the whole issue of food security. We have, fortunately in Tanzania, at that time 4 regions. Later, of course, I made them 6. 4 regions of Iringa, Mbeya, Ruvuma, and Rukwa. These are the food basket. These are the regions where we get all the maize and the rice we consume in the country. So we said, let's put our hand where our mouth is. Special focus to this. That's how we came up with the Southern Agricultural Growth Corridor of Tanzania, SAGCOT. Of course, a major component here has been support farmers, and when we talk about farmers, is smallholder farmers. Because when we came up with SAGCOT, there's been a lot of misinformation, disinformation, that now is going to be land grabbing. You read in the media, the BBC, CNN, or New York Times. Well, it was a total misconception. We were really talking about how to help the smallholder farmer transform its agriculture from subsistence to a thriving business. So that's how we started with SAGCOT. We brought in also, through Kilimo Kwanza, we also involved the private sector. But the aspect of the private sector has been, let there be large-scale farmers, but with smallholder outgrowers. The large-scale farmer supporting the smallholder farmer with the necessary inputs, the technology, the technical assistance, so as to increase productivity. Of course, climate change is a factor. I can say it's real. These days, rainfall is not reliable. When I was growing up, it was by, you know it, that the 15th of March, rains are going to start. The 30th of May, the long rains are going to end. 15th of October, the short rains will start. Mid-December, the rains are going to start. These days, that is not the case. Yep. 3 years ago, I plowed 40 acres. I'm a smallholder farmer.
They don't believe that.
Huh? No, why? No, not because I'm president. It is true I'm a smallholder farmer. I don't have a farm of 500 acres, no. I plowed 40 acres. The rains did not come. I did not plant. And then came the next season. I planted 20 acres. Plowed 20 acres. The rains also did not come. In fact, I bought seeds from Bero Agro. I bought fertilizers ready. We started arguing with my people assisting me in the farm. Let's plant. I said, don't plant. Let's plant. Don't. I said, okay, fine. Let's go continue. Plant only 5 acres. We planted 5 acres. The rains came late. The maize crop got this level. The rains disappeared, and I lost everything. So, climate change is real. We have to invest in research so as to get drought-resistant crops, resistant to pests and diseases. This is what we have done. We invested a lot on research. For the first time, this I'm going to conclude. For the first time, I made it mandatory that we set 1% of the national budget for research. And we spent a lot of this money in agricultural research. Because in the past, the government was not investing on research. It was the donors who were investing on research, and the donors had their own programs of interest, not our programs.
Thank you.
So it is now moving ahead. I think we are seeing some of the results of that.
Thank you very much, Excellency, for taking us to your small farm, bringing to life the risks you are facing. 15 March is gone. 15 October is gone. Climate change is real. But your legacy lives on. Mr. Kilimo Kwanza, Mr. Sagot, Mr. 1% budget for research. Thank you very much. Let's move now to Nigeria. I did say it's hard talk. We've just got 15 minutes. 8 has been taken up. In just 5 minutes exactly. Excellency, Jonathan Goodluck, what did you do? What's your legacy? You're going to be Mr. Who when it comes to food systems and climate resilience?
Thank you so much. It's so difficult to really convey to you what we did in that a short time. But let me start by saying, just like the previous panel emphasized on the issue of leadership, especially the former Prime Minister of Guinea said so, I really wanted to revolutionize agriculture in Nigeria. So when I was elected as a president, I decided to look for one of the best in the country, not based on members of my political party. I decided to look for a young, aggressive, innovative, and creative man to drive agriculture. And I got one, Dr. Adesina, who is currently the president of African Development Bank. I did not know him. He was not a member of my party, was not even in the country during the elections. But I wanted the best, and we have no regrets. And that is what I will advise my colleagues who are in offices. If you want to change agriculture, look for a competent person. Through him, we launched what we call Agri Transformation Agenda, ATA. Under that, we did a number of things. But let me quickly mention the GESS program, the Growth Enhancement Support System. In that program, there are quite a number of things, but what I will highlight here is what we call the e-wallet. Before we launched this, in Nigeria government, both federal and state governments sent fertilizers and other agro input, seeds, agrochemicals and others to farmers, but hardly get. People divert it through one means or the other. In some cases, fertilizers are even adulterated with sand. So we decided to launch the e-wallet system to make sure that whether in terms of finance, improved seeds, agrochemicals and others get directly to the farmers. And that was very, very progressive approach. In fact, we launched it in April 2012. By September 2012, 14.3 million farmers keyed into the project. And in fact, after us, that was the first time it was introduced in Africa. But the World Bank escalated it to some African countries, including Asian countries. Because of that aggressive approach, in terms of even financing, we introduced what we call risk. Just to summarize, we share risk with the farmers. Both the government, the central bank share risk with farmers. So banks were able to give more credits to farmers. And of course, we encourage the private sector to get involved in the agricultural value chain. Along that line, there was so much improvement that even in terms of the bank books, before that time, you have only about 0.07% of bank books that lent to agriculture. We improved it by up to 5%. And agri became a key thing because we now changed the tone that agri is not to be pursued as just a rural development program, but a wealth creation program. And therefore, agri must be managed as a business. And so many young people who read engineering, medicine, law, also establishing farms in Nigeria then, through the programs we call agropreneurs. Through that, we were able to improve the food production. And from that 2012 to 2014, the Food and Agriculture Organization and the World Food Program awarded Nigeria and recognized us for reducing poverty, people who are living very poor people to 50% based on the MDG Goal 1, and that award was given to us in Rome. So the key thing about agric is innovation, and you must get somebody who's passionate to drive the process. I thank you.
Thank you very much. Lessons from Nigeria. His Excellency said, number one, get the right person. I was going to say man for the job, and none other than Adesina Akin was the driver. Get the inputs right. use e-wallets and get the banks and private sector on board, then it happened. That's your legacy, Excellency. Thank you very much. Dr. Meaki, you're still running in the treadmill. You're a big ambassador. You've been with AU NEPAD. You've been Prime Minister. We've only got 4 minutes. Take us forward. Reflect. We've had Tanzania, legacy lives on. We've had Nigeria, legacy lives on. But you still can influence. 1 minute backward, one thing you did, but 1 minute, what would you do differently now?
Okay, no, thank you. First of all, the presentation by Your Excellencies, the two presidents, showed how political determination is fundamental. So I will allude to 3 points. And political determination leads to results.